City won the treble. They did indeed win the treble. 2022-23 was one of the seasons that you'll remember for the rest of your life. But football waits around for absolutely no one. And football is back in our glorious treble winning can. City are back in action tomorrow. So this is the big season preview over on my channel. I'm going to go through loads of topics today. I've got some guest voices as well. Arsenal fans, United fans, Liverpool fans, Chelsea fans. It's going to be an awful lot of fun. Some faces that you'll recognise too. We're going to talk about the transfers, the squad depth, the concerns, the positives, and of course, try and predict what's in store for us this season. It's going to be an awful lot of fun. So get yourself a brew, get yourself a coffee, coke, drink, whatever you want, maybe some snacks, because this is going to be a pretty long video. While you're here as well, please do me a massive favour. Help support the channel. Give this video a big old like, share it around to your friends, subscribe if you're new, and let me know down in the comments what your predictions will be for this momentous campaign, because it could be an all-time, you know. Following a season like that, it could also be very underwhelming, but it could also be pretty exciting because we don't know what is in store for this Manchester City side. As you can see across at the bottom, we're going to go through the transfers, the squad depth, we'll talk about the concerns, the positives, we'll look at the rivals, and we will look at the predictions. So I'm going to start initially with the transfers. I'll put them all on screen at the same time instead of slowly revealing them, because I think with the transfers, it's a really interesting discussion, because there's an awful lot of asterisks there. There's an asterisk next to Lucas Paqueta, João Cancelo, and Aymeric Laporte. As we're recording this, it's Thursday, it's the day before the Burnley game. It looks likely that Paqueta is going to happen. It might not happen, but you just sense something. It could be that it falls through. But the current mood around this transfer is one of acceptance from West Ham United. And Guardiola did his classic, I will not talk about a West Ham player, comment at a press conference. He could have gone, no. But he did his old typical, something might be happening here, but I'm not going to talk about it kind of face. And I think we all know there's something to this. City, of course, have talked a little bit about signing a winger or a midfielder, and Paqueta would fit this down to a T. He'd come in and be a really intelligent solution. Of course, I don't know the fee. I put 75 million because apparently 70 million was listed, and then apparently, according to the press and people, West Ham wanted 85, but I reckon they'll be somewhere in the middle as per usual. Compromise. It's an awful lot of money. It's an awful lot of money. But I'm not going to look at the value and the fees. I'm going to look at what it would mean in terms of a window. Now that would be one net down on last season's start of the squad. Though I'd argue, actually, with João Cancelo sorted, clocked out mentally, Rico Lewis stepped in and made his debut and came in. So we're sort of net even there in terms of fullbacks. Obviously, Laporte moving on. Vardiol was his replacement. Kovacic was Gundogan's replacement, and Paqueta, in a weird way, Morris's replacement, presuming Foden or Bernardo would move out wide. And at the time of recording this as well, there's also still some talk about City potentially signing a winger. There's some Jeremy Doku rumours going around. The flying Belgian winger can play on the left and right hand side. A dribbling monster, though always injured, but really exciting player. He could be a really smart signing as well if you get him. And if you get those players in and you think, well, Morris was going to go eventually anyway, you can't really blame Morris. You're chasing the cash, you know. He's got to chase that dollar and go over to the Middle East, Saudi Arabia. Sort of get it. He would have been moving on next summer anyway, given his age. Gundogan's a massive loss. I can't deny that. But Kovacic and Paqueta, between them, Paqueta only 25 years old, didn't have the best time. That's if he comes in, by the way. But I think the creativity he'd bring, the tenacious approach to his game as well, would be a fantastic addition. And Kovacic, look, when he plays as a number 6, it's Gundogan. It's that Spider-Man meme. Pointing at each other, man. It's absolutely ridiculous. They are basically the same player in that role. And I do think Kovacic will be a really smart upgrade, unfortunately, on Calvin Phillips as well. Never mind just as a number 8. So you see those players, and it could be good. But once again, those asterisks are really important there. Will we sign Paqueta? And if we do get him, will we sign a winger? It's really hard to judge this season until we know what's going on there. But I'm going to base it on those things happening. And I think, do you know what? It's a pretty decent window. It's not an incredible window, but it's enough. You know, we've replaced outgoing players with hungry players, and potentially more to come in, of course, as well. It's an interesting window. Cancelo, look, I know people would want him to stay, but the way I see it is, he sort of checked out mentally ages ago. He was deemed toxic by Guardiola and moved on. And I think at that point, you've got to accept that he's just not a part of City anymore. I feel so sorry for Laporte, but with Vardiol's coming in, someone, of course, is going to have to give, and it's Laporte. He was barely involved towards the end of last season, and I think City just sort of moved on without him. So the transfer window in general, look, it's a decent window. We've replaced players with exciting players and options. I would love to see a winger come in, but Paqueta in midfield with Kovacic, they replace Gundogan, and that leaves Bernardo or Foden out wide, and I'm fine with that. A winger would be nice at the same time. So let's look at that squad depth. This is really, really hard to do because you never know how it's going to look. You never know how it's going to look because it always changes depending on the rumours and so on. And this is not a preferred 11, by the way. I've sort of just put them as a list as they come to mind. Immediately look at certain positions. Ederson or Taker Carson. That's great. Carson. Legend. Ortega, a fantastic backup keeper. I would trust him as number one. I really would. Ederson, brilliant. Almost a redemption in some people's eyes as well towards the end of last season. Massive in the Champions League final. Look, Diaz, that's Johnny Stones and Diaz mixed together. Johnny Stones and Diaz is probably the best centre-back pairing in the league. Absolutely world class. Look at that depth. Kyle Walker staying is absolutely massive. Bernardo too as well, by the way. I think they're going to stay. I didn't mention him in the previous section, but they will stay. Vardiol, I mean, look, he's brilliant. Him and Ake on that left-hand side, they've got it locked down. Vardiol will bring in so much as well to this Manchester City side. Like, I am really confident that they'll add an awful lot. And then you get... those two there. Then you got Stones, Diaz, Akanji. Of course, Ake and Vardiol can play centre as well. I've just put them on the left of a 4 for now because it's easy to list them that way. Kyle Walker, massive experience. Rico Lewis, of course, can play there as well. He'd be massive for City. But he also plays as a midfielder. So basically, we've got good options there. Gomez as well, if he's still in the squad, which I think he will be. Occasionally, by the way, you'll see me lean forward and change the settings. I'm right near 2 windows and the lighting keeps changing all the time. It's a pain because I can't control it, but it's a very bright day today. So ignore those bits basically. But Gomez, of course, can play left back. So we've got another option there potentially. You'll see Rodri's there alongside Calvin Phillips, but I think if we're being honest, Calvin Phillips may struggle. He may struggle to actually get some game time this season because I think Kovacic will get that number 6 role instead. Paqueta comes in. I think Pep would play in there first. Maybe even Stones, maybe even Rico Lewis. Calvin Phillips does not seem to be trusted, and I'd be surprised if he's still here at the start of the season. No, I wouldn't be actually, but I'd be surprised by his choice. He should probably move on at this point, but we'll see. Stranger things have happened than Calvin Phillips finding form and confidence and establishing himself as a good squad player for Man City. It could happen. Second season and all that. Injuries, fitness, a focus. I do wonder if he's got the bite though, and and the commitment, or he's just happy to be there. We will see. Paqueta and Kovacic, of course, they're behind Foden and De Bruyne. I do suspect Bernardo will be on the right. You look at the midfield options there. Look, Foden, De Bruyne, Kovacic, Bernardo, Paqueta potentially. It's more than enough. That's a really good bunch of midfield options. I'm more than happy with that. You look at the left, and it does look a bit weak, doesn't it? Jack Grealish. I really like Grealish, and people have been out for him in the summer, in the pre-season, in the Community Shield, doing the same as he did last year. It's nonsense. He'll be excellent. Grealish takes a bit of time to get going, but he'll be excellent as always, I reckon. But of course, Foden can play out there. Maybe we do see Doku come in and challenge him, or Matoma at Brighton or something like that. But I do think he looks a little bit weak if we presume Foden's a midfielder, because Grealish... Gomez is a fine backup for a Carabao Cup. He's much better as a midfielder. I don't mind him. But he's not, I would say, going to start any time soon. If he plays there every now and then for 20 minutes off the bench when we're winning, I don't mind, because I think he's a lot more comfortable in that role. We saw it in under 21s with Spain, so that's fine for me. But we could do an option there. Foden, when he came on the Community Shield, nominally on the left, was miles better than Grealish was that day. So I don't mind. In terms of the right winger role, look, if Bernardo or Foden are out there, they are better than anything we could sign in the market right now as right wingers. I mean that. Look at the names linked like Doku, Oliseh, Shirky and people, or Bacola and people like that. They are young talents. They're very young talents, but they are not currently better than treble winning Bernardo, who had a brace against Real Madrid in the Champions League semi-final, or what Foden's done to Liverpool, or hat-trick against United as a right winger. They're a level above these players. They could get there eventually, but they're not as good as Foden and Bernardo as right wingers right now. So either of them is more than fine to step into Mahrez's shoes for me. But of course that means Foden won't be on the left, or Bernardo won't be in the middle. It gets a bit messy. But Messi would be nice, wouldn't he? Come on, get him safe from Miami. Cole Palmer I've still put there as well, because I think Cole Palmer, I want him to stay. I don't know if he will do, but I feel like there is chance for him this season to get half an hour off the bench and get involved, play more as a right winger, because last season he was on the left. But I think that Community Shield goal showed he is ready to be involved. I do want to see him stay. If not, Oscar Bob, I'm sure, could be the nominal backup from the academy there. Oscar's a really smart player. James McAtee, of course, is lifted there. I've got a feeling James could go on loan, though. If we sign Paqueta in particular, The options look limited. I hope he doesn't. I hope he stays, but it could be an awful lot of time on the bench for the kid, and I'd be disappointed to see him not play any football. Alvarez, of course, and Haaland, you struggle to get too better than that. Alvarez, of course, will continue to play as a midfielder every now and then. Not against the big teams, it's not going to work, but in general, as an option against a lower mid-table team, we'll be fine. We'll win. We'll win plenty of games, and we all know that. So I've got no problem whatsoever. Overall, that squad depth, you look at players that Guardiola would trust, Ortega, Edison, Vardiel, Ake, Diaz, Stones, Akanji, Walker, Lewis, Rodri. I mean, you wouldn't trust Phillips yet, but there's a lot there. The squad seems decent. It's better than it could have been at one point, but there's still some question marks, I would say. In terms of the next thing I want to talk about, it's the concerns, Let's talk about the concerns, because there are some potential concerns in this Manchester City side. I like to go through them all in terms of balance, concerns and the positives. The first obvious one, post-treble hunger. Will that hunger be there? When you climb the highest mountain, when you climbed Everest, do you want to climb Everest again? A lot of people see it as a chance to put their feet up. Will City find the energy to go again? It'd be really hard to do. It is. Many great players have achieved great things and sort of, calm down. I was chatting to United fan and they said the Dwight York effect. Apparently after Dwight York won the treble, he sort of just checked out mentally. It can happen to an awful lot of people. It's a concern, something we've got to consider, especially considering the loss of Gundogan and the loss of Mahrez. I put those two together, but Gundogan in particular, Gundogan is our captain. He's a man for big goals in big moments. The brace against United, that season when he stepped up as a false nine and scored loads of goals. Big goals against Everton and Leeds and running. Gundogan is a man for the big occasion. And when you haven't got someone of his stature, you're going to lose, an awful lot. Gundogan, a genius footballer and a man for big goals. Not an awful lot of goals, but big goals. And that mentality is huge. And Mahrez as well, Mahrez is good for 20 goals and assists every season. This is a man who absolutely comes alive in big Champions League nights or loves that winter running. Mahrez, when it's cold with the gloves on, hits differently, man. Even though he's getting a bit older, Mahrez, of course, immensely popular, immensely trustworthy, just a quality player. Which leads to the next point. Will there be a creativity issue? We've seen it a few times where De Bruyne has not been on the pitch and we've looked a little bit lethargic potentially. We saw it a bit in the Community Shield as well. Then, of course, Foden and KDB came on and things changed. But with no Gundogan, no Mahrez, what if De Bruyne gets an injury or Foden's not about? All of a sudden, you're looking at the team and thinking, who's going to create the chances? Of course, Bernardo and Grealish should be able to. Maybe Bakasevic comes in or Kovacic. But fundamentally, they've not been our key creators for an awful long time. And you feel like a bit of their game, the Maverick game that Villa had with Grealish or Monaco version Bernardo, it's not been there for a while because they've become more cogs in the system. It's an interesting point to discuss, Potentially a lack of pace out wide is a real issue there, of course, as well. But you look at those players out wide, Bernardo, Palmer, Grealish, Gomez, Foden, whatever. They ain't any flying wingers there, my friend. No one's going to cause any trouble out wide. He didn't really affect us this season, but eventually he could come unstuck. Also, maybe, the lack of a settled Foden role could impact his position or his quality, so to speak. Foden's been moved around the pitch an awful lot throughout his City career. Left winger, right winger, midfielder, false nine. Give that man a settled role. Could it affect his form a little bit? Affect his confidence? It could potentially. Could there be a second season dip for Erling Haaland? I don't think so personally, but it's a worthy thing to mention. And it's not going to happen, surely. But, there will be a real focus on Haaland after last year. Everyone will be aggressive. They'll crowd him out. And can he be involved if people are really, they're doubling down on efforts to stop him? Might make up space for everyone else. But second season Erling, we don't know how it'll go. The idea of getting 50-odd goals again is possible. It's a big ask, though. Could be a bit of a drop-off there. When you lose goals with Gundogan and Mahrez, even if Haaland just scores 40, with Gundogan, Mahrez and Haaland gone, that's a 30 goals miss. Haaland's going down, that's 30 goals extra that we lost there. So we will see. Another point that people want to talk about is, will youth get a chance? And is that a negative? Is it a concern? For some people it is. You can't have all these players from the CFA doing wonderful things like McAtee and Palmer and whatever and Bob and never played them. At some point you're going to have to. So I understand the potential frustration there. The next point is a big one. The rivals will be much better. We'll talk about them in more detail in a bit, but I do think the argument that United will be better. Arsenal could even be better with the squad improvements. Liverpool could be better. I think it's fair. Newcastle more confident. Brighton maybe. You know, who knows how Chelsea or Spurs will do. I think it's fair to say the Premier League is going to be tough this year. Really will be. And I feel like it's going to be really close in that top 10 with loads of teams capable of doing some good stuff. The Phillips issues as well, like Calvin Phillips is nominally a backup number 6 currently, but he's just not showing it yet. And all accounts seem to suggest that, you know, maybe City want to move him on, but he wants to hang around. And can he be useful? Because we're going to need him to, because Kovacic won't be able to play every single game instead of Rodri. And Rodri got tired last season and just about got through, but it could be an issue. And finally, the depth, as per usual. City do tend to operate with a smaller squad than our rivals, and Guardiola likes that, but the injuries do catch up to you. And when you've got amount of games that City play, you've got the Club World Cup coming up as well, the fixtures, it's an awful lot to take in, and it could be a bit too much eventually. But let's talk about the positives. We won a treble. City won a treble. If that doesn't show you that this Manchester City side had the hunger, the belief, the quality, what will? We still had that quality even without Gundogan and Mahrez. Look, that treble winning side is still there. The one that started is still there other than Gundogan. And that says an awful lot to me about the quality that we've got. And people around the world are scared of Manchester City Football Club because we won a treble. It's worth remembering that before you throw a paddy and worry about signings, you know. Because the next point is Pep finds a way. It does. We sat there last year and we ranted on Twitter and we hypothesized and we did this and that and we all moaned, and then Pep went, I know more than the Twitter guys. And he does know more than the Twitter guys. He knows more than me by 1 billion times. He knows more than you. Yeah, you, mate. By 1 billion times. And Pep does find a way to do magic things. So give Pep Guardiola good players and he'll do something magic. He may take a couple of months to work out, but when he gets going, he wins you a treble. That is Pep Guardiola's way. And there's no way whatsoever that Pep won't get these players going. He will light a fire under the feet of those players. He'll get them running through the Etihad walls before you know it. Don't know why they'd be doing that. Maybe out of the dressing room. They'll be so hyped up they'll know the door and just straight out. I don't know, but either way, Pep will make sure that the players are hungry. And if I don't know, random player, if Jack Grealish doesn't seem hungry, guess what? He'll be on the bench. If Diaz looks distracted, a Kanji Rake will be in there. That's just how Guardiola moves, and we know we've got the best manager in world football, and we have made new signings as well, and that brings new hunger. It's always important not to stand still. Vardiol, of course, Kovacic, Croatians, they are hard-working players. Paqueta could come in. He could bring that Brazilian spirit. It's always important to move on sometimes. Players at the peak, when they've maybe done it all, and bring in players who want to achieve even more. And I think they will bring a drive and a hunger and commitment to the dressing room, especially Paqueta if he comes in, because that would be a massive upgrade for him, with all due respect to West Ham. Vardiol as well in particular, look, I think he's an upgrade in what we've got in our first 11. I mean this with the greatest respect to Nathan Ake, but we've got a man who potentially is as good as Ake defensively, but offers so much more on that left-sided channel. Honestly, he's a creative, excellent ball-playing, dribbling, attacking, bombastic, elite-level passer at the same time as being a centre-back. He can play left-back for us. He's going to offer so much, and I can't wait to see this guy be a standout player for us. Kovacic as well. Look, Kovacic is an elite player, man. People are down on Gundogan going, but Kovacic is a special footballer. Maybe not as many goals as Gundogan, but that could change. You never know. But the way he glides past people, the way he's press resistant, Kovacic is going to bring something a little bit different, and I can't wait to see what he brings to Manchester City. Bernardo stays. Kyle stays. Look, these are immense positives. Bernardo Silva, easily one of the top few midfielders in world football. Kyle Walker, easily the best defensive right back in world football still. Look, these around this team with their mentality, we cannot underestimate what a boost it is to Manchester City. Anyone would be stronger with those two in their team, and we got them for another year at least, and that to me immediately increases our chances of winning trophies, because when the tough gets going, you know, when the going gets tough, the tough get going, and they are pretty much the epitome of that. They are tough, and they are there at the big stage of the season always. So that, to me, is a massive boost. Rico as well, Rico Lewis, I put him on there because I think he'll be more ready this season, you know? It was a huge, huge boost to the team last season. And when you've got like a Rico Lewis who's more adapted to first-team football, you've got this guy, I reckon he could actually be as a number 8, you know? He could be number 8. And I think the signs in pre-season were really promising when he played that role. Bustling, energetic, creative. I think Rico could have a bit of a surprise season for some people. And also this season, they finally had a bit of a rest as well, you know? Like in previous years, they come off the back of a European competition internationally, or they've had a crazy World Cup in the middle of the season, that we won a treble, or whatever, or we've had the UEFA Nations League, I think we had that this season. But either way, some of the players have actually had a bit of a rest. You saw De Bruyne looking 10 times more calm and relaxed than he had been for an awful long time in pre-season. He's actually going to have his fitness back. The players have come back at the same time. No one turning up the week before the season starts. They're all there. They're all rest. And they're calm. There's no pressure on these players now. I really don't believe there is, because the treble. You know, when you've done the treble, you're not going to be scared of the Champions League anymore. What have you got left to improve? And I think that with the wrong group of players could cause complacency, but with the right group of players, that causes empowerment. You know, I think these players will step out onto the pitch and people will be scared of them, and they'll sense that fear and they'll step up and do some wonderful things. I also think John Stones as well will improve even more. We saw the signs last season of a man who stepped up in the biggest game of his career, Champions League, and John Stones was the best player on the pitch. What is he going to do this season? I think he'll be stepping into midfield and dribbling past people and being absolutely excellent. Finally, Bob, Palmer, McAtee, one of them is going to have a breakout season. I don't know which one, but they will. I trust it, I feel it, I sense it, and that's going to be really exciting for me as a Manchester City fan. So, let's go on to the rivals. I've got clips from Arsenal, Liverpool, United, Chelsea, from Spurs, and I'll play them right now. First up is Johnny, Arsenal fan.
Hi, Johnny Cochran here from the Arsenal Opinion Podcast. Just here to drop some new season predictions on you. Obviously, last year that was a tense battle. Oh, it was. Went right up to the wire. And, you know, a lot of City fans might think that our belief, our motivation has been sucked away. Well, let's get into it and see whether I think that's the case. First off, who do I think will be the Premier League champions for the upcoming season? Well, I believe it's going to be Arsenal. Have you heard of us? Have you heard of us, guys? Okay. I think that there is a rationale behind it. It's not just bluster and bravado. You may think it is anyway, but the idea being that we have strengthened. We got a player that you guys went after. He chose us instead, in the form of Declan Rice. We've strengthened at goalkeeper. We've now got the best goalkeeping duo with no drop-off there. We may even have Raya be our number one by the end of the season. Timber looks like an absolute class act and will prevent some of those huge drop-offs that we see when Zinchenko was injured previously, and more tellingly, Saliba out for a long period and really cost us. And also, Kai Havertz is the one who no one really has a handle on how he'll do yet, but I think he might do very well. I do think City are going to be right up there again. But and I do like the fact that for you guys, you've brought in that Gvardiol. He looks like a really good player. But I just think that there will be some kind of drop-off after the fact you've won the treble. It can't get any better than that. And I do think that some of the players that you've let go in the form of Gundogan, they're going to be big misses. In the crunch moments, you're now going to have to start turning to players like Jack Grealish, Phil Foden to drag you over the line instead of just be bit part players. And I'm not sure they're going to have more in their locker than the likes of Saka and Martin Ødegaard. So I'm going for Arsenal. Champions League, it's going to be close. It may be City. City and Arsenal might share the big trophies this year. But either way, Premier League, I'll go for Arsenal. City may get their hands on one other. And the cups, they're up for grabs.
Arsenal fans are loud, they are confident, and understandably so. Arsenal, of course, they're going to be our biggest rivals this season in many people's eyes. Their signings have been excellent. You know, David Raya's come in, of course. No, I would argue Ortega, mate. Ortega's pretty damn good. You know, Ortega, Ederson, Raya, Ramsdale, I'd take ours. Either way, he's coming in. Timber's an excellent signing. Declan Rice, brilliant signing. I still think if we'd bid and it got accepted, maybe. We'll see. We can't prove it either way. Kai Havertz, you know, they've improved their squad. I can't deny that. Arsenal look really good. They are clearly our most well-balanced threat this season. And I suspect they'll be really good. It could be that maybe it's too much for him. You know, another season with expectation on them. It could be that actually they don't really have, you know, the stones for it. It could be that Champions League's too much. We will see. Last season they had one game a week and they bottled it. We had 2 a week in all these competitions and we won them all. So we'll see how it goes, man. On to Liverpool. This is Paul Machin from Redmen TV. Over to you, Paul.
Hello, mate. So, look, weird summer for Liverpool on the back of a obviously rubbish season. Expectations are high. in terms of Liverpool getting back on the horse. I'm not sure the expectations are high in terms of Liverpool going back to being title challengers. Feels like it's the first season in a while where I've not gone into it hyper optimistic, and not just based on kind of blind faith, which I've had for all of my Liverpool fandom. We've had 5 years, really, even when we've had bad seasons, of still feeling as though we were going to be the main team that fought alongside Man City for the title. I don't feel like that's the case this season. It feels like we're rebuilding to come back better, but I'm not sure we're quite there. And a couple of missteps in the transfer market have definitely added to that. I think we've added 2 really good midfielders in Mac Allister and 𝙏𝙬𝙨𝙯𝙧, which are going to improve our attacking output, and that's been evidenced in pre-season. Free-flowing, scintillating attacking football, high pressing, loads of goals, loads of assists, looking really, really good. The front 6 players we've kind of got, which is Salah, Gakpo, Núñez, Diaz, Jota, Ben Doak, who's a young lad as well, who looks really, really good. And we've got Mac Allister and 𝙏𝙬𝙨𝙯𝙧, and Curtis Jones behind that in the mix in midfield. Harvey Elliott as well. Feels like we're very, very overpowered in attack, but we've sold Henderson and Fabinho, which means we haven't got a recognised number 6 at the club, someone whose job it is to do that 100%, a specialist. And the defence could do with a little bit of work as well. Feels a little bit like Liverpool or the Golden Gate Bridge at the moment, is that we've spent the last 18 months rebooting the attack, and great, we're ready to see that unleashed, but in doing so there's been neglect in the midfield and the defence, and this summer was meant to be about fixing the midfield, and I think they have in an attacking sense, but they've definitely weakened it in a defensive sense. So yeah, it's an odd one. It feels like on any given day, Liverpool could potentially have a really good season, scoring loads of goals, loads of fun, blowing teams apart. But have we solved the defensive issues from last season, where we had a little bit of a weak underbelly? I'm not entirely convinced. So I don't really know what our ceiling is this season. It depends whether if City have taken a major nosedive, which I doubt, it's possible that the league might be up for grabs, but I think Liverpool are playing for second at best, and at the moment City and Arsenal seem like much more rounded 11s to 15, 16s in terms of squad numbers. And Liverpool, again, all of our weight feels like it's in attack, but look, we've still got our boss goalie. We have got good defenders. It's whether systemically we can keep the door shut. That's going to be the big question this season.
Liverpool are going to score an awful lot of goals this season, aren't they? Paul's right on that front. They've got an awful lot of creative brilliance, but it's just remains to be seen if they'll get that number 6 in. Thiago, of course, is an excellent player. Bajcetic, loads of talent, but a kid. Thiago never fit. Romeo Lavia could be going to Chelsea now. I don't know. It's going to be really interesting to see how they bounce back, but I do think they'll be up there. I've got them to challenge for the title, but whether they'll have the steeliness, the defence maybe could do with some changes, I don't know. But Liverpool are simply going to be too good, especially at Anfield. They'll blow a lot of teams away because they're creative players that they've got. You think of Gakpo's settled in now. Jota's a goal scorer. Salah, Luis Diaz. They've got 𝙏𝙬𝙨𝙯𝙧 will get forward. Mac Allister's got goals from midfield. It's just a crazy attacking team. They'll be up there. They are much better than last season, in my opinion. And United as well, over to my good mate, 𝙤𝙬𝙨𝙯𝙧 at Stretford Paddock.
𝙤𝙬𝙨𝙯𝙧 here from Stretford Paddock, Manchester United YouTube channel. This season, going into this season, I'm actually feeling cautiously optimistic. I'm a little bit worried. Let's get it out of the way. I'm a little bit worried about Manchester City, the fact that they could and probably will make it 4 in a row, and I take no pleasure in saying that. I know you lot who are City fans are probably loving that, but let's be honest, it's not like you've got weaker. You probably got stronger, if anything. So, yeah, that does worry me. But I think from a Manchester United point of view, we've made the signings we need to make. We've made them in a timely fashion, which is a bit of a rarity for Manchester United Football Club, especially post Alex Ferguson. We needed a change of goalkeeper. I think that was very important. We've got one in, Onana, who obviously plays the way that Erik ten Hag wants us to play out the back. We need a striker, Rasmus Højlund, bit of an unknown quantity, very young, but it's a position we needed filling, and we've got someone who can do that. Also bringing in Mason Mount. That's a signing that at first was a little bit meh, but I'm warming to it. Champions League winner, still only young. Erik ten Hag obviously wanted him. We've got him, and the fallout from Chelsea fans shows that he's a very good player. They were a lot more annoyed at him leaving than they were at Kai Havertz. So it's been pretty good business so far, and I think we've also been relatively ruthless from what I can see at the time recording, getting rid of a few players that we need to get rid of, which is not often the United way. Again, far too often we've kept them players that we don't need for longer than we should have. So it's been a decent transfer window. I think we can still bring in one or two more. Hopefully we can. Going into this season, though, I think it's going to be difficult to even finish third again. But with the change we've made and the fact that this is a manager who's going to be in his second season in the Premier League, I think we can kick on a little bit. I don't expect us to be challenging for the title, but I expect us to be near the top of the table, thereabouts, going into the sort of the final furlong, if you will. So I'm hoping we can win another trophy. I think we can with the squad we've got. Certainly the team we've got, I think squad-wise, just a little bit short for a title challenge. But yeah, this is probably going to come back to haunt me, but I think United will have a good season. I think we'll finish in the top four again comfortably, and I think we'll win more silverware. Who knows, maybe even we'll win one of the big trophies, like, the Carabao Cup.
United, once again, Onana's a much better fit, isn't he? And Jay's right, they will be near the top of the table somewhere. Challenge for the title? I think they should do with the money spent, by the way, but, they won't see it that way and they'll get a free pass from some people. But they are a better side than they were, man. They are a better side, I can't deny that. Mason Mount, I think, is a smart signing. I really rate Mason Mount. I think he's a really good player. Lost his way a little bit at Chelsea, but he's a really smart, industrious player. And I think he's an upgrade in Eriksen as well, alongside Bruno Fernandes. There's still a little bit of control, I'd argue. Casemiro's more of a destroyer than a controller, and Mount's more industry, and Bruno Fernandes is very direct and aggressive. I still feel that they miss a controller. But of course, Garnacho will be better this season. I really rate Garnacho, annoyingly. Højlund, the Haaland clone, let's see how he gets on. But United are a better side than they were last year. We'll see how they get on. To Chelsea, I've got a man that some of you definitely know and definitely can't stand. But here's my mate Rory anyway.
Mr. McInerney on the Esteemed Kompany channel. I am honoured to be on this channel. I really hope that you're all well. Weirdly, I am feeling quite upbeat about Chelsea. When you asked Stephen to give my thoughts on Chelsea, I think the natural inclination as to how people thought I'd be feeling would be fairly down. I think people from outside of Chelsea, if you're from the outside looking in, I think that you're seeing it as feeling rather negative. A lot of young players, a slightly directionless board, lots of unknown, lots of jeopardy. And that is, of course, true. But I personally am feeling really upbeat. I think that we have a great crop of young players, full of desire. And if you think about how Arsenal performed last year with the youngest team in the league, I think that we could take a leaf out of their book. I think that we could be this young, hungry, dynamic team full of desire and heart and tenacity. When you think we're so unlucky with this Nkunku injury, so that has dissipated my enthusiasm a touch. But Nicholas Jackson is a gem. Honestly, keep an eye out for him this season if you're slightly unaware. When he signed, not so much fanfare, 30 million quid, didn't feel particularly inspiring, but he has been a breath of fresh air on pre-season. And I think that working with Pochettino is going to do him the world of good. Combine him with Ian Maatsen, who was on loan last year at your beloved company's Burnley. Combine Maatsen, Jackson and Nkunku, we are a team full of goals. But basically, Steve, to conclude, expectations are low for who Chelsea have been over recent decades. We are hoping for Champions League football, a trophy would be the dream. But to be frank, it sounds rather defeatist and pitiful, but what you get up to is totally insignificant to us. What Arsenal get up to is totally insignificant to us. Our priorities lie around making sure that we finish above the likes of Villa, the likes of Newcastle potentially, the likes of Tottenham Hotspur, as always. So that's what we're focused on. And with Pochettino leading the charge in this young, hungry team, I feel like something special is going to happen. My prediction is Chelsea to finish in 5th spot. And if we don't win the league, as always, I hope you do, because you preserve and protect us from the likes of Arsenal, Liverpool, Manchester United winning it. So good luck for the season, and let's come back to this at some point. Cheers.
See, I've known Rory for a long time, and I know he puts his chest out with his opinions, and I know it pisses people off. But Rory is a man of conviction, at least, and he stands by it. And he's also a very good chat when you get chatting about Chelsea. And he's right; it's a weird season for Chelsea, and at least there's an honesty there. Like, they're not in this conversation at all at the top of the table. But Chelsea, they've signed a whole bunch of players. I don't know what they're doing, man. It's a lot of young talent, but they've got Pochettino. He's very good at that, and it could be that he's the man to get all the likes of Colwell and Jackson and and Nkunku, he stays fit, or all these young players through to do something pretty exciting for them. It's really weird that Chelsea, you look at that team and he doesn't look special anymore. He looks good, and he could be even better than I realise with some of these players, but Chelsea could either be top 4 or 10th. Like, I don't think there's a middle ground for Chelsea. It's going to implode spectacularly, or they're going to do really well. I don't think there's any middle ground. Over Matt Hayes, Spurs fan.
Hi Stephen, Matt Hayes here. Looking forward to what I'm sure is going to be an up and down season for Spurs. Just to add a bit of context for the viewers at the time of recording, Tottenham have accepted a bid from Bayern Munich for Harry Kane, but it's unknown if that move is going to materialise. Some reports saying that maybe it's a bit too late. Harry Kane doesn't want to leave this close to the start of the season. That could be us clutching at straws, but look, whether or not we have him, it's going to be a season full of unknowns. With Ange Postecoglou, a new manager coming in, no Premier League experience, did a fantastic job at Celtic, especially looking at kind of where they were when he was appointed. They'd just gone a season without winning a trophy for the first time in a while. But he's come into Spurs, he's already built a fantastic relationship with the fans. It's refreshing how honest he is in his interviews, and the football that we're playing is football that we've been craving pretty much since Jose Mourinho was appointed in 2019. So look, we obviously don't know how it's going to go with him and how things are going to develop, but it's been a great start, and we're happy with him at the moment. With the players that we've signed, a lot of unknowns there, with the exception of James Maddison, who I think is a phenomenal signing and one that will play a big part in our season coming up. But with Guglielmo Vicario coming in from Empoli, and there's Mickey van de Ven, Alejo Velith, players that not many Spurs fans would have heard of before we signed them. There's a lot to learn about those players, and I'm looking forward to learning about them, but it's also difficult to be too optimistic about the season ahead when, we don't know too much about some members of the squad. And the kind of biggest thing is there are players who were on the fringes and expected to be sold before Postecoglou came in, who now could be a big part of this team, and the main one of that is Giovanni Lo Celso. So there's a lot that we're going to have to figure out as the season goes on, and my expectations aren't particularly high. I think it's going to be a season of transition and a season of trying to get used to playing football the Tottenham way again. A cup would be nice. It's going to be 16 years since we won a trophy by the time this season comes to an end. So it'd be nice if Postecoglou was able to prioritise one of those. But with no European football, maybe we could have a bit more about us in the league this season and maybe push to compete for those European places. But I don't think any Spurs fan is expecting huge things this season.
It's a really weird one for Spurs, because as we're recording this, as he said, Kane, is he going to come and go? I think he'll stay, by the way. I just don't think he's got the balls for the move. We'll see. Maybe this will age terribly. But I know they got big Ange Postecoglou. He's a really good manager for what it's worth. And I've seen Spurs fans that I follow on Twitter salivating with glee that they're playing good football finally. Yeah, he will do that to you, man. He's a really good manager, isn't he, Postecoglou, but apparently. And I know the City Football Group really like him as well. They're going to do better. I think they'll play decent football. It just might be a bit step too far for them. They signed a bunch of players, as Matt admitted, who aren't really household names, but they'll play good football. And I think to them, good football right now is what they need as Spurs fans. They want a bit of that old Pochettino magic. And Postecoglou is a really, really, really impressive manager. And elsewhere, you look at the likes of Brighton. Can they keep it up? Well, they certainly deserve it to. I'm sorry. They've got the quality players still, they absolutely do. Will they keep Caicedo and Mitoma? That would be massive for them, of course. McAllister gone, but it's Brighton. They'll sort something out. Newcastle, will they make the step up as well? Tonali's a massive signing. Do you know what? I don't know who else have they signed, Newcastle. I'll do a quick check. Newcastle signings, I've forgotten. Do you know what? It'll come back to me when I see the list, of course. But Newcastle so far, look, they've got the money, of course, but have they got the pull massively at the moment? Look, they've signed Tonali. Harvey Barnes, okay. Harvey Barnes, I think he's a smarter signing. I think he's a better player than people give him credit for from Leicester. Tino Livramento as well is a really smart signing at right back. I mean, him and Trippier, it's a good bunch of players, that man. I think it'll be a really good signing for them. They need a bit of magic still, but, they've got an awful lot of quality there. And I think the players that they signed last season, like Isaac, will step up a little bit more. And Aston Villa as well, they're another one to pay attention to. Aston Villa under Emery, excellent last season. They've signed Moussa Diaby, Pau Torres, Tielemans. They ain't messing around, man. I think they're linked to a few more as well as it currently stands. Let's see how they get on. And then elsewhere, you look around the Premier League, and I think a few teams will be better. We will see. Anyway, on to my predictions. So to the predictions bit, I put other top scorer here because, what's the point of predicting Erling Haaland as the top scorer? And I've gone for, drumroll, Phil Foden. Now, I know everyone's been a little bit negative about Phil Foden on Twitter over the past few days, saying he's not going to play and we should be playing here. And blah, blah, blah. I think he's going to play regularly. I think he's going to score 20 goals. And I think he's going to score more than Alvarez. I think he is Erling Alvarez. That would be a hell of a player. Julian Alvarez. I think he's going to do really well and have a great season. But I could be wrong. It could be Alvarez. But Phil Foden, to me, I don't know, man. I just trust it. I just trust it to happen. I think he's going to score 20 goals and be absolutely excellent. Player of the season, though, look, there's a temptation to put Haaland there. Or even Foden for put top scorer. But I've still put Kevin De Bruyne. Look, I feel like Kevin De Bruyne, with the treble off his shoulders, with a fully fit summer behind him, not injury-free, I feel like he's just going to play with a joie de vivre, a love of life, and score a whole bunch of goals. And I can't wait to see how he develops his game. I feel like he's going to be absolutely excellent and just have so much freedom. And I think he's going to get 20 assists, break his record, and just be absolutely immense and get maybe another PFA player this season, because that's what he's going to do. Having said that, let's get to the star signing. I put 𝙄𝙬𝙨𝙩𝙚𝙚. Paqueta could surprise us if he comes in. Kovacic too, excellent, but 𝙏𝙬𝙨𝙚𝙚, man. This guy, I've got a feeling, will be up for the PFA Young Player of the Year. I think there's going to be segments of people purring at just how good he is on the ball. Like they'll be going, oh my God, we've got a deep-lying playmaker who plays aggressively at centre-back as well. I think 𝙄𝙬𝙨𝙚𝙚 is going to surprise some people. We've got a superstar signing here. You can have an impact in this Manchester City side that changes our perception of what ball-playing centre-backs could do. Best young player. Look, I'm a Cole Palmer stan. I can't hide it. I think he's going to stay, hopefully, and I think he's going to play plenty of football, and I think people are going to realise that he is actually a mini Mahrez. I'm going to go for it and back it here. I hope I'm right. We will see. Let's go on to the predictions for the competitions. I'm going to start with the most important verse, of course, the Carabao Cup. I'm actually going in reverse order, of the way they finish and so on. I'm going for the Carabao. We're bringing it home. It's coming home. It's coming. The Carabao's coming home. I want to win it. I think we're going to win it. Yeah, it's coming home, man. It's coming home. We're going to win it. And Alvarez is going to score loads, and then until Haaland steps up in the final and wins it for us. I think we're going to win it. I can't wait as well, because we've been loaning it out for too long now. FA Cup, I put quarters. We could win it. We could win them all. But I put quarters because I think we're going to slip up somewhere and it'll be there. Premier League, 4-peat. It's going to happen. We're going to win 4 in a row. I believe it's going to happen. It's going to be the same as last season. People will get giddy about other teams and City will power on. Everyone will get scared of us because we'll find our peak form and Pep will get the players going and we'll win 6 out of 7, 4 in a row. I believe you should believe. On to the Champions League. Do you know how much I want to say we're going to win it? But I can't say we're going to win it because I feel like it might be a step too much. But I can't not put us in the final. Semis or the final. I put us down for the final, man. God, do I sound so confident, don't I? Maybe it'll be the semis. I don't know, but I put finalists. I'm going to stick to it. I wrote these predictions last night. I'm going to stick to the final, but I still think maybe I'm a bit optimistic there. Why not win it again? You know what I mean? Yeah, we're going to go really far. They are my predictions. Guys, what are your predictions? What do you reckon? That is my big season preview. Please do help support the channel. Please do share this video. Please like this video. Please send it to your mates. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Let me know your predictions and all that kind of stuff. Your starting 11, what you think on the top 4 will be, the rivals and all that kind of stuff. I can't wait to see yours. I'll read them in the comments. I'll share some. You're all awesome. I can't wait for this season. I'll be doing loads of content, trying new stuff. Thank you for being here season after season. I love you loads. City won the treble. Love you all loads. In a bit.